Right, 3.2. Explain why this insert procedure will not correctly add a full stop at the end of the text contained in the sentence, in the variable s sentence. Okay, what I've done there is I've just put a little string together just to help my thinking, because they're saying, right, insert a full stop into this thing. Let's assume that that's s sentence. I know it's got digits in, I'll just use it because it's easier to count. The length of s sentence. Okay, what is the length of s sentence here? How many characters are in there? That's 9. So it's saying put a full stop into that thing so it goes to the 9th position. Okay, so it's not going to put it at the end because that's the actual 10th position. That's the 10th position. So if I do that, run that code now, or execute that code, it's going to do that. Okay, so we actually don't want to have it there. This should be length plus 1, and we had that a little bit earlier in one of the multiple choice questions, or question 2, I'm not sure. Okay, so just be careful of that one there, and that's a common question to ask, to say, right, write some code to add a $sign to the, okay, and there are other ways of doing it as well. Perhaps even a simpler way would have been simply to say s sentence. Okay, s. Okay, that's using the insert function, but we could have done something like this and said it's equal to s sentence plus. Okay, what plus means in strings? It means that you're adding. Okay, you're plucking. You're not adding up. You're not doing a sum. Okay, full stop, and that might have been an easier way. Both of those would have worked. Okay, but they ask you to figure out why that wasn't working. Okay, because that automatically just puts it on the end, irrespective, doesn't have to worry about the length, etc., etc. Rightio, this particular example says, okay, what you must do is, okay, now they give some code, so you don't have to do anything just yet. Following code correctly counts how many occurrences successive, okay, successive means together, or one after the other, or adjacent might have been at once, are in the same, in the string s word. So if s word is equal to Mississippi, okay, so they're saying, alright, which of the neighbors? Okay, so there's 2 s's there, there's 2 s's there, and there are 2 p's there. Okay, and they've highlighted it nicely for you. So they want to count if those things work. So they've got this code for I loop equals 2 to the length of s word. 2, that seems a bit odd. Okay, if s word I loop equals that minus 1. Okay, what is it actually doing? Okay, right. Well, let's think about it. The loop starting at what value? The loop starting at a value of 2. Okay, starting at a value of 2. So what's the first, what is going on here? So loop is equal to 2. If loop's equal to 2, then what is loop minus 1? Well, that's 2 minus 1. So 2 minus 1. So it's looking at the second character and the first character. So it's looking at the M and the I to see if they are the same. And guess what? They're not the same. So it doesn't increment the count. Okay, then I go back my for loop still, so now that 2 becomes a 3. So I'm now looking at character 3, which is the S. I loop 3. 3 minus 2 is 2. 3 minus 1 is 2, so it's now looking at the I and the S. Now look at the I and the S of Mississippi, and is that a match? Okay, then the loop becomes a 4, and I think you start to see the pattern, hopefully. Okay, now it's looking at the fourth character, which is the second S there, and it says, right, if that's 4, then the yellow one, I loop minus 1, so that's character 4, this is character 3. So look at character 4, look at character 3, are they the same? Are those 2 S's the same? Yeah, boy, yes, they are. Okay, increment the count. Okay, so what it's doing, it's going along and looking at the current letter and the previous letter and comparing them. That's essentially what it's doing. Okay, it's doing that. It's comparing it with the one in the previous position in the string and essentially then is incrementing the count. Okay, so every time it finds a match, so it'll go all the way right up to the end. I don't know how many characters there are on Mississippi, you can quickly count. Okay, but the loop will go right up to the end and it would look at that character and the previous character. Okay, so at some stage it will count the 2 S's there, it will count the 2 P's over there. Okay, it's an interesting one. Okay, we're still running around Mississippi. Okay, that was my poor southern accent. R count equals 0. And okay, so we said it was comparing successive letters and an increment of the count, so we understood sort of how it worked. Okay, well, not sort of, we knew exactly how it worked. Now, okay, and we end up with an answer of 3 because there were 3 doubles. In other words, where the previous character was the same as the current character that we were going through a loop. Why does the loop control start? That was interesting. We normally used to this starting at 1. So why didn't it? Okay, because let's think about it. If it started at 1, okay, that's 1, that's fine. Then what's 1 minus 0? That's 0. Okay, we don't want to be looking at the first character. Why? Because what makes sense? Because is there a character before the first character? No. So that's why, in fact, we started at position 2, because we were comparing them. Okay. Could have started the other way that you could have written this loop, and it would work perfectly well, is to start at 1 and go not right to the end, and we'll see why, and I've done this. And either way works perfectly well. Where you look at the current one, so you start off with the M and then you look at the R. So it's whether you look at the current one and go back and look at the previous one, or whether you look at the current one and look at the next one. You're still looking at adjacent ones. Okay, and then you don't go all the way to the end, because when you get to the end, there isn't another character to compare it to. Okay, so that's just an aside, wasn't part of the question. Okay, I said at the beginning of question 3, there's some of the concepts that are actually coming out of the multiple choice in question 2, and that's why it's so important to understand question 1, particularly in terms of sometimes the ones that don't work, as opposed to just the correct answer. And then some of the concrete answers that we saw in question 2 as well are going to play account, because we saw something similar to this a little bit earlier. I think it was in the multiple choice, if I remember correctly. Okay, consider the following code which correctly, okay, so there's no debugging or in terms of, not debugging in terms of syntax, but there's no logical errors going on here. If a cell number stored in a string called SCell consists of 10 digits only. Okay, remember that when we had earlier, we said, right, there must be 10 things there, and they must all be digits. Okay, there can't be funny other things going on there, but let's get to the question. Rewrite the first if statement, okay, this one here, using a pos. Okay, so what was this one doing? It was checking if this character, okay, because again, yeah, okay, besides setting count equal to 0, okay, which is something we normally do before loops, initializing our count and some variables, R loop equals 1, okay, so it's going to go through each character. If SCell R loop in 0 to 9, okay, then it's a digit. Okay, so it's basically checking if each character. But they're saying, please could you just rewrite that? And we said that there are 2 ways of doing it, either by using the sets or by using the pos function. And I'm just going to change this and say, right, if pos, okay, so I'm going to take that out because I'm not going to use that. Okay, I'm not going to use that. If the pos of the cell, okay, so if that character is in this thing, okay, so the string that I must put together now must contain all the digits, because I'm saying, does it belong anywhere in there? Okay, if that's greater than 0, then increment the count. Okay, now that's exactly the same as saying in 0 to 9. And again, and that's why I say sometimes it's just a preference, but you should be able to rewrite it either way around. Okay, because you know how to use a pos function. This just says, take the current character, check if it's in there, but if it's greater than 0, it means it found it. Okay, sometimes we're not interested in the position where it was found, just that it was found. Okay, now equal to 0 means it wouldn't be incremented. Okay, and then the next question, in fact, jumping ahead is 3.4.2. I'm just going to scroll down here. They explain why both the conditions are added and need to be true in the if statement, in the second if statement. Okay, so I'm just going to do that here as well at the same time. They're saying, why do we need both of that? I mean, if that's checking for 10 digits, then surely it's fine. Okay, we said, for example, if our cell, that is fine if our cell number looks some, if S was, oops a daisy, having one of those editing nightmares here. Okay, what was my variable? S cell. Okay, now that's fine if I've got a perfectly legitimate cell number. So I've got something like 082123456 because they're 10 digits in a cell phone number. Okay, 082, I think I left the 8 out there. Right, that's fine. This example worked. Then I don't need that part. It's fine. Okay, so it works if the example is correct. But what happens if the example is incorrect? Well, it's fine if there were less than 10 digits, it would still work, you can say. But and if there were more digits, yeah, it would still work correctly because it's checking for the count equal to 10. So what's your problem? Okay, if we've got something strange like that, that's no longer valid. Okay, but there are still 10 digits left in the cell phone, okay, number. So that's why I have to have both of these being true for that to be a valid cell phone number.